Hello, hello! 5 things I've done recently. You're about to find out what they is. Lots of reading going down lately. Lots of reading. I'm continuing that trend. Whether I'm retaining that information or not, that's debatable. But I'm enjoying myself. That's all that matters. First up, the second book in the G.I. Joe Find Your Fate series for young kids back in the 80s. This one was released in 1985. It is called G.I. Joe Operation Dragonfire. So in this story, the character you are basically not controlling, but kind of in the story is an operative named Spider. So he doesn't exist. The character you're reading from the point of view of in these stories are all made up people. So your name is Spider, and you're kind of like an intelligence, strategic decision maker for the Joe team. And what happens is, on the monitors one day, they notice a big explosion in South Dakota. A big chunk is taken out of the ground, and they're like, "What the fuck is that?" It's got to be Cobra. So Hawk mobilizes a team, which includes, holy fuck, excuse me, yourself, Spider, along with Lady J, Roadblock, and Rock and Roll. Maybe there's more, maybe there's not, but those are the ones I remember. So basically you're tasked with going to South Dakota and investigating this blast site and what's going on. As you make your decisions, you end up entering this blast site, and more explosions continue, and your team kind of gets trapped inside the rubble of this blast area, and you run across like convoys of Cobra troops transporting stuff and patrolling the area. So as you go through the story, the whole point of the Find Your Fate series is that you are faced with choices along the journey, saying, "Oh, go do this. Oh no, go do that instead." And you kind of make the right decisions as you go along to complete the story and figure out the one of the good endings, because most of the endings are bad. It ends up with you getting killed and your mission being a failure. So as Spider has to make all these decisions, come out on the right side of things, and you come up against Destro as one of the main enemies that factors into this story. I think in the first book, I think it was Storm Shadow that you came up against. I think Cobra Commander was also in there a little bit, but Storm Shadow was the one guy you actually fought against. In this one, the main enemy that you come across is Destro. So they're cycling different characters in and out in these first 2 books so far. So we'll see eventually what the third book brings. But love this shit. I read through, just like with the first book, I went and I did every option available. I chose every choice and saw where it went, sort of thing. Because they're very small books, as you can see, very easy to read through. It's just a little hard sometimes keeping track of, which choices have I done? You have to go back and then go forward and then go back and kind of keep track of your progress. I do it mentally, so I'm sure I've missed some options here and there, but I think I've got at least most of them. But great books, I love it. Next up, book 4 of the Cleric Quintet. I'm almost done. It is called The Fallen Fortress. So, as this book picks up, all that mayhem and chaos that took place in Cara Dune, where Catterley was staying, and remember Abalister, the evil wizard from Castle Trinity, hired that assassin band, the Night Masks, with that leader Ghost who could transport bodies. Remember all that went down in the last book? So as this book picks up, all the dust has settled from that adventure, and Catterley comes to the decision on 2 courses of action. One being a main course that everybody is aware of, and that, I don't know why I'm so yawny tonight. I'm annoying myself. The main course of action is they want to march on Castle Trinity and take the fight to the evil wizards there and wipe them out and end this threat permanently. In order to do so, Catterley has to use his growing powers, his very powerful powers, to influence Dean Thobicus's mind, the guy one of the guys, now that especially that Headmaster Avery is dead from the last adventure, he's kind of the main guy left in charge of the library that Catterley operates out of. But he wants nothing to do with this this course of action. So Catterley has to go in and mess with his mind and make him accept this decision, which Danica, Catterley's the monk, who's very good fighter and also Catterley's love interest, she doesn't like where he's going with these powers and the arrogance that he's displaying in doing these kinds of things to people. But he always has a reason for doing it, and so she's always able to be like, okay, yeah, whatever, yeah, okay, and go along with it, right? So he influences Dean Thobicus's mind, and their party sets out to march on Castle Trinity. The only problem is the winter is coming, so they need to get going fast. As the snow is coming, things are getting colder. But what Catterley hasn't told his comrades is that he has an alternate reason for marching on Castle Trinity that he hasn't quite told them yet. So in the party, of course, is Catterley, Danica, the two dwarves, Ivan and Pickle, the brothers, Shayley, the elf, and the Furbolg Vander, who they picked up from their last adventure. Now, the other reason Catterley is marching on Castle Trinity is because it goes through the mountains, where they can also come across there's a hill in the mountains. It's on the map here. Nightglow. It's a spot in the mountains called Nightglow. And basically Catterley has brought with him, if you remember Ghost, the guy from the Night Masks that could transfer his consciousness into different bodies. And in order to do so, he had these three objects that were called the Girafu or something like that, which allowed him to do these powers. Very evil objects. Nobody should be in possession of them, because once they get a taste of its power, they're probably going to fall to its darkness, sort of thing, right? So Catterley has brought these objects with him secretly, instead of leaving them at the library, because he was like, these guys are just going to study it at the library and then fuck it up and cause all sorts of destruction and chaos, right? So he brings it with him, and he discovers that the only way the Girafu can be destroyed is there's a dragon called Fryen Tinamar, I think his name is, that resides in Nightglow, and this dragon is the only thing that can destroy the Girafu. So as they set out on this journey, this information eventually comes out, and everybody's like, what the fuck? Like, you didn't even tell us you're bringing these evil objects along, but now you want us to go wake a dragon and have it destroy this? The dragon's just going to eat you before you even have a chance to tell it what you're thinking of, right? So they have this great debate about what they're doing, but Catterley eventually, I think he sneaks away from them one night and goes to Nightglow himself and infiltrates Nightglow and makes his way towards this dragon, and they figure out what is happening, so they chase after him. So Catterley confronts this dragon, and he's become so powerful that he's actually able to put up defensive wards against the dragon's attacks and actually eventually enchant the dragon's mind, which, if you know anything about these types of stories, dragons are pretty much the most powerful beings you'll ever come across in these universes. They are the ones that control other people's minds, and the power of their bite and their fire and their claws and their talons and their tough hides. They're pretty much the shit when it comes to magical beings in these types of realms. But Catterley is able to stand up to this dragon, take over its mind, flatter it, all the things you need to do to get a dragon to come around. And eventually he does get the dragon to come around, and Catterley tells him what he needs it to do. And so eventually he gets Frey and Tinamar to destroy the Girafu. And in the meantime, Abelister, the evil wizard, has reanimated Ghost, who Catterley thought was dead, but his spirit has come back and haunts this evil mummy zombie type of body. And Abelister sends this creature after Catterley, but as soon as Freya and Tinamar destroys the Girafu, this zombie spirit of ghost basically disintegrates, and that threat is over with. A threat they didn't even know was after them. So eventually, the rest of Catterley's party catches up to him just as he's in the process of having had Freya and Tinamar destroy the Girafu, and they talk about, okay, you got to put this dragon back to sleep so we can make our way to Castle Trinity, but the weather's getting real bad. Well, what if we flew there? And Catterley's like, I'm not sure if I can control this dragon much longer, let alone us hop on his back and fly however many hundreds of miles to Castle Trinity, right? But that's eventually what ends up happening. They make it most of the way there, but just as they're about to get to Castle Trinity, they come across a big band of orcs and goblins and whatever, hundreds and hundreds of them, and they think to bypass them and go to Castle Trinity because they don't know how long Catterley can control this dragon. But at the same time, all of these ogres and goblins have caused so much chaos when they attacked Shilmista Forest in the third book or whatever it was, or maybe that was the second book, I don't remember. Yeah, second book. They're like, we've got a dragon, let's just roast all these fuckers, right? So Catterley has the dragon attack these things, but during this attack, the dragon finally breaks Catterley's mind control. So not only does the party have to deal with the few remaining orcs and goblins, but now they have the dragon's full fury against them. But Catterley, being as crafty as he is with his newfound powers, they find a way to actually kill the dragon and end that threat before they can finally march on Castle Trinity. Now, the march on Castle Trinity goes two ways. They kind of get split up. So Catterley and Danica are on their own, whereas Shaylee, the dwarves, and Vander are off on their own. But they end up getting sucked down these trapdoors and all these get all kinds of held up. Catterley and Danica eventually make it to Abalister's kind of chambers, but just before they get to Abalister, they encounter Dorgan, who is the female evil wizard that was involved with Abalister in the early going, but has since had a change of heart. She's come around after Catterley spared her life in the second book during the Battle of the Shilmista Forest. She's kind of taken a liking to Catterley and is working against Abalister behind his back without him knowing. And so she actually helps Catterley when he gets to Abalister's chambers, infiltrate Abalister's chambers, even though Danica can't follow him. Dorgan kind of explains that she's had a change of heart. She wants to be on the winning side and that sort of thing. So Danica doesn't quite trust her, but they eventually come to a kind of truce. As Catterley goes to confront Abalister, Dorgan and Danica go to rescue Shaylee and the dwarves and everybody who have fallen in through all these trapdoors and everything. And but as for Catterley, when he confronts Abalister in this kind of pocket dimension that Abalister has created, and a big battle between the two ensues. Abalister with his evil wizard spells, and Catterley with his powers that he's gained through his god Danir, and eventually Catterley is able to get the better of Abalister and kill him, but not before Abalister reveals the truth that I am your father, which makes Catterley go, whoa, what the fuck? So there's this big revelation comes along right at the end of the book, and Dorgan also tells Danica this fact as well, and she's kind of floored. So in the end, all's well that ends well. Their whole party makes it through the adventure with very many close calls. Catterley defeats Abalister. Castle Trinity is in shambles, and the six heroes win the day, sort of thing. But as we all know, this is a quintet. There's one book to go. With the evil wizards being out of the way at Castle Trinity, what could the final book entail? What kind of enemies are we going to come up against in it? So very curious to see how that final book unfolds and what happens with Catterley and his band of traveling misfits, right? Third and final book, Aliens Bishop. This story, as you may have surmised, is all about the character Bishop, who came into effect in the Aliens movie, the second movie in the Aliens franchise. And then he again shows up in Alien 3 when he's on that, after him and Ripley crash land on Fiorina, whatever, that prison colony, right? He's kind of brought back to life and rescued by Weyland-Yutani at the end of Alien 3. So in this book, we see where that picks up after Weyland-Yutani and Michael Bishop come and take Bishop away. Michael Bishop, this guy that was the head of Weyland-Yutani and came up with all this synthetic technology, is talking to Bishop and saying, I need that information you have in your memory banks of all the information you gained on the xenomorphs, those aliens, the queen that you encountered. That information is very valuable to me. And Bishop doesn't know where he is, what kind of facility he's in. He does know that he's on some sort of a ship, and he remembers his loyalty to the Marines that he served with, because they treated him for the most part as one of their own, with a few exceptions here and there. His loyalty is to those Marines and what they went through at the hands of the xenomorphs. He doesn't want to give Michael this information because he's terrified of the xenomorphs and what they may mean to the galaxy. But Michael keeps pleading with him and explaining it's for the good of mankind. Like, it's going to be for medical research, advancements in medicine, and enriching the human experience and the human lives, not for anything nefarious. And so Bishop is still a little sussy about it, right? But he kind of thinks about it, and Michael has made these other synthetics called Orthus 1 and Orthus 2, who are really nasty synthetics that have no personality, and they're evil, and Bishop can feel this. In the meantime, while all this is going on, Marcel Apone, who is some sort of sergeant or commander in the Colonial Marines, has made it his own personal business to go after Bishop and get Bishop back with all of that information for their side of things. So basically at this point, there's all these different parties in the universe. There's the United Peoples something, I forget them all. The Chinese are on one side. There's all these different political and followings that are all kind of at odds with each other. So I can't remember if the Colonial Marines fight for the United Americas, but one of them. And so they want Bishop and his intel back for their side, but more so than that, you may recognize the last name, Marcel Apone. So his older brother, Alexander, was the commander of the Colonial Marines that went into LV-426 during the Aliens movie, and basically they all got wiped out with the exception of Ripley, Newt, half of Bishop, and was it Hicks that made it through? So he wants retribution against these aliens for his brother. So he wants to get Bishop back for a couple of different reasons. So Apone and his squad are currently chasing down Bishop, who is with Michael. So it's basically this chase as they catch up, and eventually on the Bishop side of things, he eventually relents and gives Michael access to the xenomorph data, and so they start all their research, and they have live xenomorph samples on this ship that they're on, and eventually it's made known to Bishop that Michael is working with the Chinese on this top-of-the-line ship that Weyland-Yutani actually built for them, and that's where all these experiments are going on, and Bishop is just very confused by the whole situation. But they go about their research. They have live xenomorph samples. Obviously, all hell breaks loose. They actually have a team of Vietnamese people in there that they basically are using as guinea pigs that they release the face huggers on and breed more aliens. Of course, the aliens get loose and cause all sorts of mayhem, but at the same time, Apone and his colonial marines have also tracked their location down, and they launch a breaching attack on the ship and board in an effort to get Bishop and extract him from that. So you've got this big Chinese spaceship, top of the line. You got alien experiments going on. The aliens get loose. The Marines board. You've basically got three different factions. The Marines, the Chinese, the Xenomorphs, all kind of coming together as a head in this ship, and all hell breaks loose. So, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but, who survives, who gets Bishop back in their kind of fold, and what exactly happens at the end of this story. I'm not going to tell you. You got to read for yourself, but it's a fucking cool-ass alien story. All the Aliens books I've read in the last while, they've all been great, and it's nice to see, a character from the films kind of rehashed in this, because Bishop is definitely a very cool character from that Aliens movie, which Aliens is the best of the bunch of all the movies. You know this to be true. Next up, a movie, Deadpool and Wolverine. So after Deadpool 2, when Deadpool uses Cable's time traveling technology to save Vanessa, Deadpool feels like he wants to matter. Like he needs to contribute something to the world after everything that's happened. So he knows he can't really do it in his current situation. So he uses the time travel technology to travel to a different Earth on the multiverse. So I believe his current reality is Earth 10,005. So he goes to Earth 616, which is called, there's something special about this version of Earth in the whole multiverse time stream. So he goes to that Earth and goes to the Avengers headquarters and meets with Happy Hogan and is like, I want to become an Avenger. I want to matter. I want to keep my girl. I need to do something good. Happy Hogan is like, you're not quite a team player. You're not quite an Avenger. You're going to find your place. You're going to find your role in the galaxy and whatever. It's a really funny exchange between these two. And so basically they deny him. So he goes back to the Earth, his regular Earth time stream, and it flashes forward about 6 months. He's no longer being Deadpool. He's no longer doing the superhero thing. He's broken up with Vanessa, and he's now working at a used car dealership alongside Peter, who is the only surviving member of X-Force from Deadpool 2. And so he's just kind of being a regular guy, not really happy in life. And eventually, one day it's his birthday, so everybody's at his apartment for a surprise party. They have a birthday party for him. Vanessa's there. Blind Al, of course, is obviously there. All the people, like Yukio, of course. So he has a good speech saying, it's just nice to have everybody I love all in one room. Suddenly the doorbell rings. He goes outside. There's these weird dudes dressed up in these combat suits, and they're like, are you whatever? You're coming with us. And he's like, what the fuck? But eventually they have these weird little time portals, these rectangular things that show up out of nowhere and then they pop out of them. So somebody like kidnaps him through one. So he's taken to this facility called the TVA. It's basically the time continuum authority that look over, basically time travel and all the different multiverse, whatever things that are going on. So, and there's a guy that runs this thing, the TVA, I forget his name, Mr. Something, who explains to Wade that we know that you want to matter, that you were denied by the Avengers. Here's your chance to be somebody. I want you to work for us. And he explains, that this TVA oversees all the different multiverse time streams and whatever, and you have a chance to matter, do something special, and so Wade is like, I'm in, let's go. And so eventually the information comes out, though, that we want you to end your own Earth's time stream. He said, with the death of Logan, he was an anchor for your reality, for your time stream. With that anchor gone, your time stream is slowly decaying and will eventually cease to exist. Your world will end. And this guy's like, I want to help make that happen sooner. We've got this device that if we can just complete it, we'll just wipe it out right now and get it over with. And Deadpool's like, are you fucking kidding me? You're going to kill all my friends and family and my world? He's like, no. So then he goes, he beats, he fucking headbutts this guy and escapes through one of their time portals. And he goes looking for a version of Wolverine from another time stream. And he searches a whole bunch. And it's so funny because there's all these interactions with different types of Wolverines. They have one where he's comic accurate, so he's just this little tiny short ripped guy, and he makes fun of him. It's really funny. So he goes through and finds all these Wolverines. Meanwhile, the TVA has sent all their soldiers after him, so he's trying to battle them off. And then eventually he finds a Wolverine, and he brings him back. He's the Wolverine that's in the yellow and blue jumpsuit. Brings him back to the TVA and says, I've solved your problem, Mr. Peabody, or whatever the fuck your name is. I got you a new Wolverine to be the anchor. And the guy's like, that's not how it works. Once the original anchor is gone, he can't be replaced. Your world's gonna die no matter what Logan you bring to us. And you brought the worst one. This guy fucked things up and killed all the X-Men. And Deadpool's like, what? And so then Wolverine's like, what the fuck? So then the TVA basically are going after now Wade and Wolverine, and they end up the guy that runs the TVA ends up sending Deadpool and Wolverine to this place called the Void. It's just this weird Mad Maxy type post-apocalyptic environment that exists outside of the regular time stream, and they definitely take a Mad Max theme with this land as well. So when they're in this place called the Void, they meet up with Johnny Storm from the Fantastic Four, and he explains, this place is nasty. It's ruled over by this Cassandra Nova, I think her name is, and so eventually Deadpool and Wolverine and Johnny Blaze get was it Johnny Blaze? Yeah, Johnny Blaze. Get captured and taken to this Cassandra Nova, and they find out that she is Charles Xavier's evil twin sister, and she has made a deal with the TVA guy to permanently rule over the Void as its ultimate leader and whatever. So basically, Deadpool and Wolverine, and she's super powerful. Like, she's just as powerful as Charles Xavier. So it's really hard for these people that are in the Void and don't want to be there to fight back against her. But eventually, Wade and Logan find a way to fight back against her. They recruit people to their cause, and eventually Cassandra sends all these Deadpools, all these other versions of Deadpool against Wade and Logan. But of course, Deadpool and Wolverine working together eventually overcome this and make it out. And I'm not going to tell you exactly how it ends, but it was a very interesting movie. It's not at all what I expected the third Deadpool movie to be. There's been so much involvement in the MCU with the multiverse and time travel and different time streams and alternate realities and dimensions and stuff. I didn't think that the third, they went a bit there with time travel in Deadpool 2 with Cable, but not a lot. And I didn't think they were going to continue delving into the whole multiverse thing. I didn't expect that to happen in this movie, but they made it work. I thought it was a good use of it. I thought the ad of the TVA was an interesting wrinkle to it, and and then of course there was tons and tons of the usual Ryan Reynolds Deadpool humor involved in it. Maybe not quite as funny as the first two, but still very, 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 very funny and very action driven, of course. Maybe not. It wasn't quite as funny and not quite as obscenely violent as the first two. I feel like they took it a little easy on the third one, which is probably why it's. I still loved it, but it's my least favorite of the three, of course. Usually the original is always the best, but still one of the best Marvel movies. You can't go wrong with a Deadpool or a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, right? To me, those are the ones. Those are the ones for sure. Last up, a video game. This is a game that I downloaded on my PS4 as one of the free monthly PS Plus games a long time ago, and didn't really think much of it. I kept seeing images of this game out there, and I kept hearing that it was really good, but the picture of it just didn't really speak to me. So one day I was like, oh, with having James on the weekends, I was like, we gotta find some really good two-player games that we can play together on the weekends. And I looked at a list online for what games on the PS4 can I play that are really good two players, and this one was always near the top of the list. And I'm like, oh, I have this one. I'll just finish the download and we'll try that. And it was fucking amazing. And the game in question is called It Takes Two. It Takes Two can only be played with two players. So the concept behind it is really cool. I really enjoyed the story behind this game. So I think it takes place somewhere in the English countryside. They definitely have English accents. So it's a young couple named Cody and May, and they have a young daughter named Rose. They've moved to this really cool farmhouse with this big shed out back and all this land. But Cody and May are going through very big relationship problems, and they are set to get a divorce. Rose is having a hard time dealing with this. One day, she's made these little toy dolls out of her to represent her parents, and she goes out to the shed to play with them, and she is kind of like mimicking them, like being happy and getting back together and blah blah blah. And she starts crying while she's playing with them, and her tears fall on the dolls and on this book, this love relationship kind of book. So these tears magically make Cody and May's consciousnesses, their spirit, whatever, go into these dolls. So their human bodies just basically kind of conk out, and it looks like they're sleeping or unconscious or whatever, and they are now inside these dolls. And the book comes alive and is known as Mr. Hakim. And Mr. Hakim greets these two dolls and is like, hey, you two need to work on your relationship. He's a really funny guy. And he explains to them that Cody and May are basically just like freaking out, like, what the fuck has happened to us? And we got to get to Rose. She's all on her own, and God knows what's happened to her bodies. Like, we need to get to her and sort this out. So this book is like, no, not so fast. He's like, you've got to work together to solve this problem and get to your daughter, sort of thing, right? So this Mr. Hakim, this book of relationships and love, basically he puts all these challenges in front of Cody and May as they make their way to Rose to help them, make them work together, solve problems together, remember the good times, remember all the memories from living at this place, and what made them fall in love in the first place, and all that sort of thing. So because they're these little dolls and they're on their property of their house, they see everything from this very small perspective, and all the areas they visit as they try to get back to Rose prompts all these memories and these feelings and everything. And so in the end, the last steps before they're finally able to get back to their bodies and get back to Rose is Mr. Hakim makes them like help each other rediscover their passion. What are you passionate about? So for Cody, he was really passionate about gardening and growing plants and flowers and stuff. And so the greenhouse on their property and the big garden had kind of gone to the wayside with May always working so late and Cody having to take care of the house and Rose and everything. And so May helps Cody kind of clear out his garden and get it back up and going. Whereas May's passion was always singing. So Cody helps her get ready for some sort of like a concert and help her over her fears of performing again, sort of thing. So in the end, with Rose kind of off on her own and always trying to go in to talk to her mom and dad, but they're not responding. They're basically like sleeping and ignoring her. Rose is like, oh, it's all my fault. So then she runs away and is going to take a bus away from home. So as Cody and May finally work together to get their bodies back, they have to chase Rose down as she's trying to run away and assure her that everything is okay. Now, whether they're getting back together or not, it doesn't really say, but you know, as they work their way through the game, you could tell that, you know, things were changing, things were getting better, and it was just really a really cool concept for a game that you had to take on these personas of this separating couple that were really at each other's throats and work your way through these puzzles and tasks and everything to try and get back to your daughter and on the way kind of not even knowingly repair your relationship, sort of thing. And the other thing that was funny about it was that I didn't know that's what this game was about. And it was kind of funny that me and James started playing it and it's like, oh, we just went through this kind of situation, right? Like, we just separated back in October, and now, you know, he's splitting time between parents, sort of thing. So it's kind of funny that we start playing this game, and it's, you know, yeah, we can kind of relate to this, right? Sort of thing. So that was kind of neat. But if you ever are looking for a really good two-player experience, this game is fucking legitimately awesome. It came out in 2021, I believe it was. Oh yeah, and all the other books. The G.I. Joe book was 1985. The Fallen Fortress, the fourth book of the Cleric Quintet, was 1993. The Bishop book was just last year, I think, 2023. Deadpool was 2023. And then, of course, I just said It Takes Two was 2021. So a couple old things and then a bunch of more recent stuff. So, but either way, all the books were great. The movie was great. The game was fucking awesome. So those are the 5 things I completed recently. I don't have anything imminently ready to be completed, but I do have a bunch of stuff that's all going to start falling in the next little while. So I do anticipate I will be back sooner rather than later with another installment of this boring video series. Toodles!
Meow.